Hello, everyone. Welcome to our discussion today, just as we embark on the Lenten journey with the World Council of Churches' new resource, True Freedom. Developed in collaboration with the Clewer Initiative, it is designed to encourage us all, individuals and churches alike, to take meaningful action against modern slavery within our communities. Today, we are delighted to meet Jackline Makena from Kenya, but I will let her introduce herself. Jackie, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your work, and what led you to research the connection between climate change and modern slavery?
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Munich, for the invitation to this very important conversation in a time like now. As you've rightly mentioned, my name is Jackline Makena Mutuma. I am a clergy of the Methodist Church in Kenya. I'm currently at Bossey, a master's student pursuing Master of Advanced Studies in Ecumenical Studies, which is affiliated to the University of Geneva. Recently also, I was elected as one of the vice moderators of the Faith and Order Commission. And now this makes me an ecumenist. I've been an ecumenist in formation, but then also participating in ecumenical endeavors. You asked about what really made me do a research, which is an intersection of modern day slavery and global warming or climate change. I would say from where I come from the Kenyan context, climate change is a menace. We've experienced, like back in 2022, we experienced droughts where farmers could not really get anything from their farms. And Kenya is an agricultural land. That means most of the people in Kenya earn their living through agriculture. Therefore, when there is droughts, the farms they were infertile, crops could not grow anymore, and so many people lost their source of income. And them losing their source of income, they became desperate for a source of living and also providing food on the table. And this rendered so many of Kenyans to jobs and also made them desperate to succumb to modern day slavery. And unfortunately, women are disproportionately affected more than men. Therefore, this is something that caught my attention, and being someone who supports humanity, who supports life affirming practices, I found it is good for me to write on this and try to connect how climate change has led to modern day slavery and especially sexual exploitation of women and children.
So let's try to connect this issue with one of the most vulnerable groups that are exposed to this situation, that are children. Could you explain a little bit, like in simple terms, how changes in our climate are also making children vulnerable to being forced into work, as you mentioned, and other situations that they can't escape from?
Right. I would say, back to my context again, in most African countries, Africa is is a young continent where majority of the population are people 35 years and below. And this 35 years and below, majority are children. That is teenagers, pre-teenagers, and also children. The issue of climate change has affected children in various ways. First of all, we begin with food security. Due to climate change, people are not able to get food because farms are not yielding food. And this has led to unstable economies where even buying food becomes very expensive. And so many families are not able to afford food. For people who really were depending on their farm yields, they are not able to get that anymore because the farms cannot produce. So in a family where there are children, what happens? These children are forced to go and look for a source of income together with their parents so that they are able to feed, so that they are able to survive. And therefore, you will find in some of the families, especially in informal settlements, children are forced by circumstances to do transactional sex. You find so many children doing prostitution not because they are willing to do that, not because even their parents are happy for their kids to do that. It's because there's no other option for these children. They have to choose the lesser evil. It's either they die of hunger or they do transactional sex. Another issue is lack of access to education. As I have said, like in my country that I come from, Kenya, where the main source of income is agriculture, then there's no money. There's no money to pay for school fees. Right now, we are struggling with the economy. Everything is very expensive in Kenya right now, including education. School fees is escalating. A lot of things are escalating in terms of payment. Parents are not able to provide such to children. And personally, I believe that education is the best gift a parent or a guardian can give to their children. Therefore, if there is no access to education, what is the future of these kids? They are not exposed to knowledge, and that also affects them big time. This leads some children to joining crime. So you find some of the crime groups, most of the people that are there, or some of the people there, are teenagers. Increased poverty also becomes a great issue. And when there is poverty, sincerely, these children succumb to a lot of things. I'll give also a good example with West Africa, like Nigeria, the northern Nigeria, where you find some of the girls, teenagers, children, they are being trafficked even by relatives to go abroad, work, forced labor, so that they can send money at home for people to continue living. So you'll find these cases are happening. Children are forced to work at the mine places. There's in West Africa, there are a lot of mining, and now you find some of the children work there. They are sexually exploited in those places. Children suffer most. That is the group that suffer most. And they are suffering not because it is their decision. It is they don't have an option. Those are some of the ways that children are affected by climate change.
Thank you so much. It's as church people, right? That people of faith, we address the injustice, but we need to keep hope to be able to move, not to go forward, to be an inspiring voice to the world. So, what are some ways you think churches and their members can make a real difference for children affected by climate change and forced labor?
Yeah, there's a lot for the church to do. I would say the church is capable of doing a lot. The church also being a prophetic voice of the society, the church being an organization that really, especially where Christianity is the majority, an organization that influences the kind of culture and how people respond to problems. So, first of all, the church can participate in raising awareness to their congregation, awareness on the importance of conserving environment, awareness of these vices that comes due to climate change. So how can the church raise awareness through pulpit messaging? During the sermon, how do clergy, religious leaders write their sermons, construct their sermons in a way that in between the gospel, we can use the Bible also to create awareness of things that we should do as Christians, things that we should not do, which really are life-denying, things that we should not do that destroy our environment. Another role of the church is advocacy. We think for churches, we've left advocacy to civil societies. We've left advocacy to activists. We've left advocacy to NGOs. But then we don't know also this is our responsibility. And as I have said earlier, the church being the prophetic voice of the society should be at the forefront to advocate for policies and practices that protect children from exploitation and also promote environmental sustainability. How do we contribute as the church in policy making? How do we influence the laws that are being made by the government? Sincerely, we cannot pray and just leave it at prayer. We cannot just produce these statements and leave it at production of statements. We need to be active in making these laws. How many people read our statements? How many people even listen? How intentional are we in putting the government on toes? How intentional are we in holding our political leaders or our lawmakers accountable? I think it is now time for practice, time for practical ways rather than just speaking. I'm a believer that words without action will never change the world. Another thing is also providing a safe space in the churches themselves. The question is, how safe are our churches? What kind of environment do we provide for children? When children come to church, we provide an opportunity for them to speak up. Do we listen to children? Do we value their experiences? I think it is high time for the church now to prioritize, to foreground the voices of children. Children know a lot. Children go through a lot. Let us stop assuming that children have no experiences. We can get a lot from children, and hearing from them will enable us look for appropriate ways of really helping them, appropriate ways of creating a nice environment for their growth. Because if we don't take care of children, we are sabotaging the future. We are sabotaging the world. And I think this group of people is very important for continuity even of church itself. So I think for me, just to name a few, the church has a lot to do.
There is a lot to do. This is really true. And I think, well, like from your examples, I think there is no way any church can even dare to think that they don't have anything to do. They have many, many things to do. Thank you so much for what you shared. My last question is about anyone that is listening to us, maybe those who are not connected to churches. First of all, the general, like any people who could do it, and then looking at the Lent, what would be your message to Christians to be able to do something, that not be stuck and not wait also for the churches to take action, to be also protagonists of this change?
First of all, let me start with the Lent season. Lent season is a season of reflection. It's a season of humility. It's a season of spreading love. So Lent comes with a lot of things. And, so many people will say from dust we came. That is the main message of Lent season. And to dust we will return. That is a sign of humility. But then, even borrowing from a reflection from a friend of mine, there is a period that we have between dust and dust. And this period between dust and dust is the life that we are living today. So now to the general audience who might not be institutions, what can we do? First of all is to educate ourselves. Learn more about climate change. Learn more about modern day slavery. Learn more about injustices against children. I would say people do not engage in things that they do not know. Another thing that if God has blessed you with resources also, you can donate to reputable organizations that focus on children's rights, environmental justice. You can support if you're blessed with resources to do that. And for those who do not have enough resources to support or monetary support, they can volunteer. Volunteer in cleaning up the city. Volunteer in tree planting. Those small, small acts. If all of us in this world do small things collectively, we will change the world. Climate change is the root cause of so many vices. It's the root cause of so many modern day slavery. So I think we have a lot to do as the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. It's really like for everything you shared, your practical examples. It's a privilege to spend this time with you and to learn. So thank you so much for your dedication to address these critical issues. As we conclude, I want to encourage our audiences to join us on an extraordinary Lenten period utilizing this True Freedom resource. It is a powerful tool for reflection and action against modern slavery. The resource is available in several languages and you can download for free at www.truefreedom24.com. Thank you for listening to us and have a wonderful continuation.